Okay, I think we'll make a start then. We've got excellent attendance for this morning's Cloud SIEM Enterprise webinar. I'm Alex Chalice. I'll obviously be leading you through the demonstration. And before we do the demonstration, just a couple of small housekeeping rules. You can ask questions. There's a Q&A Q&A button on the Zoom taskbar. If you'd like to ask questions, please post your questions by clicking on that button. And then because I'm by myself today, I'll answer your questions once we get through to the end of the webinar and the demo. Great. So, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It's brilliant to see such a great attendance. Before we dive into the demo itself, what I'd like to do is just start out with just a few slides, which really obviously outline the problem that we're solving and why you need a product like Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM Enterprise. So first and foremost, this is a recent chart which predicts the growth of data. So by 2025, we estimate somewhere around 50 zettabytes of data will be being created yearly. And clearly for everyone in security operations, you guys are impacted by this, right? You know, part of the reason for the ever-increasing deluges in data is the ever-increasing number of cloud services that we're deploying. Here at Sumo Logic, we have what we call the continuous intelligence platform. It provides a single pane of glass and real-time visibility into all of the data that you send into the SaaS service. So we're a pure SaaS-based service. We're able to collect data, obviously, both from cloud workloads, but also from on-premise environments. And the data itself spans metrics. So this is what we use for our operational intelligence capability. We also have a log tracing capability for understanding the flow of requests through applications. And then obviously we have the capability to collect event and log data. Today we're going to be talking about what we call security intelligence. So it's obviously using that data to improve your security posture. But by pulling all of these different diverse, disparate types of data together, what we're able to do, as I said, is provide this single pane of glass across DevOps, security operations or DevSecOps, but also across into the business with our business intelligence and global intelligence solutions as well. So let's talk about security operations. That's why you guys are obviously all here today. And the reality is, because of that immense growth in data that we're experiencing, security operations is in dire need of change. And really the three main areas that are driving that need for change is first is the so-called digital transformation. So the move of workloads into the cloud. And the reality is legacy SIEMs were originally built as on-premise products. They were never built for the cloud, and Sumo Logic as a SaaS-based application was born in the cloud. We actually operate within Amazon's AWS cloud, but we're able to collect data from any public or private cloud. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge security operations are facing is a change in the threat landscape. So as we move workloads to the cloud, that's bringing new attack surfaces that need securing. Unfortunately, many of the cloud providers provide a range of controls to help you do that. But many of them are not able to provide you with that single pane of glass and visibility. The third area where security operations are really looking for change is around this concept or this problem of alert fatigue. I'm sure all of you on the webinar are very well familiar with this. But basically, what the problem is, in a nutshell, is there's too much data arriving for security operations to analyze on a daily basis. If you work as part of a SOC, you're probably more than familiar with the concept of alert triage and tiering in SOCs. And really that's a whole manual process that is really outdated and not keeping up with the immense growth in data. So the triaging of alerts of security data as they arrive in the SIEM is really no longer a human scale problem. And so our proposition obviously is that you begin modernizing your security operations through deploying a SaaS-based SIEM like Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM Enterprise. This is really just speaks to that alert fatigue point. So this is some data points that we took from one of our prospective customers. So they were using a legacy SIEM product, and they were processing or collecting somewhere around about 10 billion log lines a day, which they were correlating. So correlation has obviously been the data reduction tool of many security operations centers for many years now. They were quite successfully correlating those 10 billion records down to a mere 10 million. So quite a large orders of magnitude reduction. But clearly you still wouldn't want to be looking through 10 million records or 10 million signals, 10 million correlations on a daily basis. So when they began deploying and implementing Cloud SIEM Enterprise, what they were able to do is benefit from what we call insight correlation. So this is a layer, which I'll show you when we get into the demo, a layer that overarches all of the correlations, what we call signals. It really provides a much greater level of data reduction than you get through simple rules-based correlation. Indeed, in their example here, they were able to see a data reduction ratio of around about 57,000 to 1. So in other words, they had from 57,000 correlated events that they were processing on a daily basis, they were able to boil those up to one simple, what we call insight. So what do we believe is a modern SIEM? Well, first of all, it's SaaS-based. It's able to benefit from all of the elastic scalability that SaaS-based applications provide. It provides automated alert triage. So through this, what we call insight generation mechanism, we're able to tickle out of the correlated data the most threatening collections of correlations. And then finally, we believe you need a rich engaging interface, which has been built by security analysts for security analysts. We try to avoid a lot of the so-called swivel chair correlation that happens in SOCs today as you move from screen to screen. So an engaging interface, but one that provides the information that you need at your fingertips. So final slide before we head off into the demo, just really to recap what we're going to see as part of the demo here. So you'll see our correlation-based threat detection. So we call that signals and insights. The insights provide this automatic alert triage, allowing you to save time and very much hop straight into incident response or tier 2, tier 3. You'll see that we're able to provide you visibility into not only cloud workloads, but on-premise workloads spanning network, user, and entity context information. And then finally, of course, as part of the demo, you'll see this streamlined, built for security analysts interface. Right, so let's move across to the demo. Okay, so here you see what we call our head-up display. So this is all about situational awareness. The first thing that we'll look at here is in the top left-hand corner, you can see what we call records. So records are, if you like, the normalized version of the log data. So as is common with most SIEMs, one of the first things SIEMs do when they collect log data is they normalize it. We're no different there. And as you can see, in the 24-hour period that we're currently looking at, Within our demo SOC here, we receive somewhere around about 2 million records, normalized records. And then through a rules-based correlation engine, very similar to what you're probably using today in your legacy SIEM, we correlate those 2 million records, and from those 2 million records, we produce somewhere around 72,000 individual correlations. Unfortunately, this is really where your legacy SIEM leaves you. So you have no other tools other than using rules-based correlation. And as I said, as part of the presentation, one of the key challenges in the SOC today is information overload. And clearly you would struggle in any, even massively staffed SOC to deal with 72,000 potentially threatening detections in any one day. But unfortunately, that is the reality of many SOCs today. So many SOCs spend a significant amount of effort, perhaps in either fine-tuning their controls so they produce less alerts, maybe switching off some of the lower severity alerts, or perhaps they don't go to that effort, they just collect all of the data, but maybe only analyze 5 or 10% of it on a daily basis. And clearly that's suboptimal. It's increasing the overall risk in the organization by not looking at these potentially threatening events. And this is really where Cloud SIEM Enterprise comes in with our innovation that we call insights. And insights add an additional layer of correlation. And what we do through the insight engine is we collect together related correlations and present them in essence as you would see or as you would consider an incident if you were looking at this as part of a tier 2 or a tier 3 or maybe incident response function. In terms of the middle of the screen, what you're seeing in the outer ring here is the record count. So this is the record count over the 24-hour period. The middle histogram here, you can see charts the signal generation over the same period of time. And then each of the insights which are correlated from these signals automatically are represented by each of these triangles that you see around the inner ring here. And as you can see, the color coding represents the status of each of the insights. Let's dive in and take a look at the insights. So this is, I guess, a view that the SOC manager would use to see the status of open insights. So we can see here we have this one insights 1727, which is in a status of new. We can also see that this particular insight relates to command and control and exfiltration. So one of the things that we do with Cloud SIEM Enterprise is we relate our detections, our signal generation, back to MITRE attack tactics. Excuse me. Those attack tactics are used when we name each of the insights. The other thing that you can see as part of the insight here is an entity username. So what we're doing with insights is we're collecting together correlations that are related by each entity. So in this particular case, we see the common entity is this user, Rico Dynamite. So let's dive in and start looking at some of the detail here. The first thing you would do as an analyst is you would drive the workflow. Clearly, if you're working as part of the SOC, it's important for your colleagues to understand incidents or insights, as we call them, are being worked on. So I could go ahead and assign it to another user or myself, or indeed you can organize your SOC as you probably currently do on a tiering basis. So I'm going to go ahead here, actually, and I'm going to assign it to myself. The other information that you see here summarizes this insight. So we have an overall severity of the insight, that user that I mentioned earlier, the entity to which all of these detections are related. You can see here we can pull up information about each of the entities. In this particular case here, we see Rico Dynamite is in our cloud services department, and this is obviously information that we've scraped out of Active Directory, and it's really all about providing that context at the analyst's fingertips that they really need to make sense of this particular insight. We also have some basic statistics: when the last signal was seen, the total number of signals that make up the insight. As you can see here, we actually have 9 total signals in the insight, but only 5 of them are unique. So one of the things that's happening under the hood here is deduplication. And then finally, we have some basic statistics around when the insight was created and so-called dwell time. So these are obviously key performance indicators of many SOCs today. So we record all of that information. And then as I begin my investigation, what I can do here is get the 50,000-foot view by mousing over each of the chevrons that you see here on the timeline. I'm able to, as an analyst, get an overview of the progression over time of this particular insight. So as we see, this particular insight started out with this guard duty alert warning us about unauthorized access by an IAM user. We then have a further guard duty alert. And then we have this rare GIS guard duty alert. So this is an example of Sumo Logic's global intelligence service at work here. So because we're providing our service for a number of different customers, what we're able to do is to baseline your detections, your data against those other customers and give you, obviously in an anonymized form, give you an understanding of how you're performing relative to the peers that are also using the Sumo Logic service. And then as I work through the data, as an analyst, I'm able to drill into each of the insights. I have some basic information about each signal, the description of why the signal was generated, what matched, and then if I need to, I can also pivot out and look at the rule definition, maybe modify it, maybe add some exclusions or inclusions to it. And then as I scroll down into the body of the signal here, I see at the top where the signal originated from, the data source itself. I'm also able to see the key attributes of this signal. And anything that you see hyperlinked here, what I'm able to do is to, pull up a list of further actions that I can take. That might be to go and search for similar data within Cloud SIEM Enterprise, perhaps look for other records or other signals containing Rico Dynamite as a username. Or alternatively, I'm able to take one of the other actions, maybe look up this user on an intranet portal or some other lookup type service. And so, as an analyst, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step through each of the signals in this insight. Obviously make a determination over whether we need to launch straight into an incident response function. If I'm going to do that, then obviously it's possible to do that by reassigning it to one of the other queues that we have. Or alternatively, you might decide that you want to escalate this, either use an external workflow system, maybe send a Slack message or a Teams message to your DevSecOps team so that they can respond to this incident, or maybe send it out to an orchestration and remediation system. So that was all I had planned to show you as part of the demo today. What we'll do now is we'll move across to questions and answers. So just give me a second here and let me see. Pull up some of the questions and answers. Okay, so first, the first question, a good question here, is how much does Cloud SIEM Enterprise cost? So of course, I would very much encourage you to talk to your local Sumo Logic sales rep to get some very basic, also to get some detailed pricing, understanding of your environment. But basically, the system is licensed based on volume ingest. Obviously the ingest rate is measured actually as an average over a monthly period. But if you're very curious about what that cost is, you can visit sumologic.com, our website, and there's a pricing page that can give you some indication of what that service might cost. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, so here's another excellent question. So the question really is essentially, how long does it take to deploy? So brilliant question. So one of the, I guess, the challenges that many legacy SIEMs have faced over the years is this so-called time to value. And that really is largely because deploying a legacy SIEM is this huge integration effort in deploying collectors and standing up software and doing the system engineering, making sure that the system scales when you have surges in data. And if you look at most legacy SIEMs, many organizations claim 6, 9, 12 months or even higher to deploy. And I'm very happy to say, because we're a SaaS based application, we're very, very rapid to deploy. Typically, we start processing data within just a very few hours of signing up the service and integrating some of the collectors. Good. So there's some other questions coming in here. So is there a minimum amount of logs that need to be ingested? Yes, there is a minimum. We do have a minimum log ingest. I'd encourage you to speak to your local Sumo Logic sales rep to understand what that is. It varies by use case and customer. So I can't give you just an off the cuff number for that. That was, thank you for that question. What else do we have here? Okay, another excellent question. So must we install agents to collect logs? So no, you don't. One of the great things about Cloud SIEM Enterprise is we have what we call a cloud-to-cloud collector. This requires no infrastructure for you guys to deploy. Obviously nothing to manage. It's all provided as part of the cloud SaaS service. There are instances, for example, when you're desiring to collect data on premise, where you might want to deploy a collector. We call them collectors, not agents. Collectors, yeah, as I said, typically you would deploy into a data center to collect data from devices within that data center or perhaps a site. So thank you for that question. What else do we have down here? Okay, so okay, so the question was, is licensing based on EPS or FPS? Actually, so refer you back to my earlier answer there. So the product's licensed based on volume of the logs ingested into the service, not on event rate. And then the second part of the question you're asking here is, can the logs be obfuscated? So absolutely, we can collect time, obfuscate parts of the logs or filter particular logs. So there's a hell of a lot of control available there to ensure the integrity and the confidentiality of information in that log data. So thank you for that question. Let me see here. So do we only collect security logs? So Sumo Logic is a platform, our continuous intelligence platform collects everything from metric data, so that's part of our observability solution, through to tracing. So this is something that your developers might use to instrument their microservices and get a deeper, better understanding of what's happening, as well as operational log data. So in essence, the continuous intelligence platform is capable of ingesting any type of data. Clearly, when it comes to the security use case, Cloud SIEM Enterprise is predominantly processing security logs. Let's see here, there's a few more questions coming in. Okay, excellent question. So the question was, how much tailoring is needed to bring the number of insights down, and is services necessary in deploying the product? So again, excellent question. First and foremost, the level of tailoring is significantly less than you would do as part of a legacy SIEM deployment. As I said earlier, legacy SIEMs often take 6, 9, 12 months to deploy. A large part of that is the system engineering and the build out, but also is the fine tuning element of it. What we've tried to do with this insight correlation layer is actually remove a lot of the emphasis on tuning and fine tuning, making sure the detections are relevant and accurate. The reason most legacy SIEMs require you to do this is because the rules-based correlation layer is the only thing that's available. We kind of prefer the opposite approach. Amp up your detections, stop filtering out data that you were doing just to make the SOC's life a little bit easier with your legacy SIEM. Send us all of your data and use the automatic insight correlation layer really to tickle out the patterns, the collections of related detections as part of that. So clearly that has a big impact in terms of the overall time to deploy and manage. Services are also available. Typically they're used to obviously deploy custom type use cases as well. Brilliant. Well, so that really brings us to the end. We're up against our time here. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. The attendance and the questions have been excellent. Thank you very much for that. Just one very final thing. If we've captured your attention this morning, then I'd encourage you to come and visit our virtual booth at AWS reInvent. There's sessions happening throughout the day, obviously European time, or if you're outside of Europe at US or Asian time as well. But yeah, if you'd like to know a little bit more about Sumo Logic security or observability or operational intelligence solutions, then please pop by our virtual booth at reInvent and yeah, come and look at the sessions and ask some questions of the staff that will be there. So thank you very much once again for joining today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.